You know that moment when you open your bank app, and instead of bracing for impact, you actually feel good? No panic, no quick exit, just a quiet sense of relief. You're not doing mental gymnastics over a $4 coffee. You're not wondering if groceries mean instant noodles for the next 5 days. There's a point where that shift happens, and it's a lot earlier than most people think. Financial gurus love throwing around big numbers. $1 million, a six-figure salary. That's what they say it takes to feel secure. But they're missing something important. There's a much smaller milestone that quietly changes everything about how you relate to money. And once you hit it, the entire game starts to feel different. That number is $20,000. My name's Dave. I spend an unhealthy amount of time thinking about money, how people build it, why some get ahead, and why others stay stuck for years. If you actually want to understand how this works, instead of hoping things magically improve, hit subscribe. And if this video changes how you see money, drop a like. It helps more than you think. Now, before we get into why $20,000 matters so much, let me ask you something. When you picture building wealth, what do you see? Maybe it's someone born into money who never had to worry, or someone grinding for decades, slowly stacking dollar after dollar. But here's the reality. Wealth doesn't grow in a straight line. There are thresholds, invisible ones. And when you cross them, the rules change. $20,000 is the first major threshold. It separates people who eventually build wealth from those who stay stuck living paycheck to paycheck. And the wild part? Most people don't even know it exists. Think about pushing a massive boulder uphill. At the start, it's brutal. You're straining, barely moving it, wondering if it's even worth it. But once it starts rolling, everything changes. Momentum kicks in. $20,000 is that moment. Before it, everything feels uphill. After it, it starts to feel like gravity is finally on your side. But here's the part most people miss, and it's bigger than math. It's psychological. When you have little or no savings, your brain operates in survival mode. Every decision is filtered through fear. You take the first job you can get, even if it's terrible. You stay in situations you hate because leaving feels risky. You say yes when you want to say no because you need the money. This isn't just being responsible. Your brain literally doesn't have the bandwidth to think long term. It's like trying to plan a vacation while your house is on fire. But when you hit that $20,000 mark, something shifts. You stop asking, how do I make it to next paycheck? And start asking, how do I grow this? You move from reactive to proactive. There's data behind this too. Vanguard found that having just $2,000 in emergency savings boosts financial well-being by 21%. That's not a huge number, but it changes how you think. Now, take that buffer and expand it to 6 months of expenses, which for many people lands around $20,000, and you get another bump. But more importantly, you get breathing room, and breathing room changes everything. Now, let's talk about the math, because this is where it gets interesting. Say you're saving $1,000 a month and earning about 8%. It takes roughly 19 months to reach your first $20,000. That's a year and a half of discipline. No shortcuts, no magic. And most people quit somewhere along the way. But here's the twist. Your next $20,000 doesn't take 19 months. It takes about 17. Why? Because now your money is working with you. Same effort, same savings, same strategy. But you shaved off 2 months just because you had capital in motion. That's compounding starting to show up. By the third $20,000, it gets even faster. Eventually, your money starts doing more of the work than you are. At around $400,000 invested, you can generate $20,000 in about 5 months without changing your behavior. The same milestone that once took nearly 2 years now happens automatically. That's the shift. Now you might think wealthy people just have access to better investments, secret funds, exclusive deals. And yes, that exists at the very top. But that's not what's driving this effect. It's simpler than that. It's scale. A 10% return on $1,000 is $100. A 10% return on $10,000 is $1,000. Same investment, same time, same risk, just a different outcome. That's why $20,000 feels different. Before that, returns feel small. After that, they start to matter. At 8% annually, $20,000 generates about $1,600 a year. Money you didn't actively earn. Money that showed up because your money is now working. Same index funds, same platforms, same strategy, just more leverage. But here's the most important part. and almost nobody talks about it. Saving $20,000 isn't just about the money. It's about who you become in the process. Think about what it actually takes to get there. You track your spending. You say no, over and over again. You stay consistent for months, maybe years. And most importantly, you prove to yourself that you're in control. That's not just a financial skill, that's identity. And once that shifts, everything else follows. Before $20,000, a $4 coffee might feel like a debate. After, you don't sweat it, because you know you've handled the big things. But there's another shift that's even more powerful. You stop seeing only problems and start seeing opportunities. When you're broke, everything is a threat. Car repair? Crisis. Broken laptop? Disaster. Rent increase? Panic. With $20,000, those become inconveniences. And more importantly, you start noticing opportunities. A friend's business idea? Now you can consider investing. A deal on a property? Now you can analyze it. A career opportunity in another city? Now it's a real option. This is what people mean when they say money goes to money. It's not luck, it's access. Money gives you options. Options create opportunities. Now here's where your thinking really starts to change. You stop obsessing over small expenses and start focusing on big ones. When you're broke, every dollar feels critical. Generic cereal or name brand, coffee at home or outside, premium gas or regular. But once you have a foundation, you realize those decisions barely move the needle. What matters is where you live, what you earn, what you invest. Those are the levers that actually change your life. And this shift frees up your mental energy. You stop micromanaging and start thinking strategically. Now let's talk about your career, because this is where things get real. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're stuck. Bad boss? You stay. Toxic environment? You tolerate it. Better opportunity? Too risky. You have no leverage. But at $20,000, you gain something powerful, walking away money. You don't have to stay. And that changes everything. You ask for raises. You push back. You explore better options. And here's the interesting part. You often don't even need to use it. Just having that safety net changes how you show up. You're more confident, more assertive, and people notice. That leads to better opportunities, which leads to more money, which leads to more freedom. It's a feedback loop. But here's where people mess it up. They hit $20,000, feel good, and then spend it. New car, expensive trip, house they can't afford. Don't do that. That $20,000 isn't a reward. It's the foundation. Blowing it resets the game. And speaking of bad decisions, let's talk about cars. The average person spends hundreds of thousands over their lifetime on transportation, payments, insurance, maintenance, gas. Meanwhile, they say they can't afford to invest. It doesn't add up. Worse, new cars lose about 20% of their value the moment you drive them off the lot. You're not just spending money, you're destroying it. Compare that to investing, and the difference is obvious. Now, I get it. Cars are emotional. You want something reliable, something that feels like success. That's fine, but understand the trade-off. That car payment might feel like wealth, but it's often what's keeping you from building it. When you have $20,000 saved, your thinking shifts. You stop asking, can I afford the payment? And start asking, what is this costing me long term? That $30,000 car could be $200,000 in 20 years. That's the real price. And suddenly, a used car doesn't feel like a downgrade. It feels like a strategy. Here's the irony. The person in the new car might be stressed. The one in the old Honda? Sleeping just fine. This mindset carries over to everything. Housing, travel, hobbies. You start thinking in terms of opportunity cost, not in a restrictive way, but in a deliberate one. And often, you realize something surprising. You don't actually want a lot of the things you thought you did. The bigger apartment? Maybe not worth the delay. The expensive hobby? There are alternatives. This isn't about cutting joy out of your life. It's about choosing it intentionally. Because once you understand how money grows, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter. Look, $20,000 won't make you rich overnight, but it will change how you think. And that's where everything starts. It's the difference between surviving and building, between reacting and designing your life. So start, because your future self is going to live with the decision you make today.